progress on this issue. The other thing is we need broader regulations. And I'll give you some examples of the kind of regulations we would like to see. So this is ingredient statements. One of the most important things on food labels, because that's what people can read, or a lot of it is English words, some aren't, as compared to all the numbers in a nutrition label, which I'll get to in a minute. The one on the left is an actual nutrition label, and the label writers, the companies, use every trick in the book to make them hard to read. So it's a sans serif font. It's all capital letters. It's right justified. And oftentimes, this is only slightly condensed, squeezed together. Some are more condensed. And every one of those things makes the label harder to read. So we translated that label, same ingredients, into a more readable format to where we put bullets between each ingredient. We separated major from minor, that some companies do, upper and lower case, a serif font. And up at the top, you'll see percentage of some of the key ingredients, maybe ones that are mentioned on the front of the package, so that people know how much is there, and it's not just pure guesswork. We're working on a bill with a Democratic legislator in the House, and it'll be a fairly comprehensive bill to deal with make these improvements, deal with those deceptive labels that I showed earlier, but it doesn't have much of a chance of passage because nothing the Dems do in the House gets passed. It's just dead, but we want to get a bill in to serve as a marker and then hopefully improve on the bill and gain more political support. We need new regulations for nutrition labels, nutrition facts labels, and the FDA is working on those. It's been working on them for years, and they've been threatening to propose the regs, and hopefully later this year they'll come out. And let me the one on the left is an actual nutrition label. The one on the right we have modified a little bit. And so we've emphasized calories. We listed how many calories in the whole box as well as per serving. And we highlighted some of the problems like saturated fat and added sugars, where if something is high, we put it in red and put in the word high that every person can read. And we replaced sugars with added sugars. Naturally occurring sugars in a food are not a problem at all. The sugars in a peach or a glass of milk, they've never caused a health problem. But it's the added sugars. That's where we get the bulk of our sugars. And I think the FDA is considering either adding that added sugars line or replacing sugars with added sugars. And you see down here at the bottom, we got rid of that box of 2,000 calories and 2,500. That's useful to some people, but it takes up a lot of space. And a challenge is somebody's faced with all these numbers. How do you deal with it? And that was one of the things that got me interested in nutrition, that I wanted to understand how healthful a food is. And I was looking at a nutritional value of something, and it's high in sodium and high in protein and low in saturated fat, but low in vitamins. Is that good or bad? Who knows? So there's efforts now to have a simpler system on the front of the package to convey in a more comprehensible way how good a food is. And there's some very interesting approaches, none of which the food industry likes. So the food industry has come up with facts up front, which they're beginning to put on food labels. You'll see them on cereal labels for sure, where they list 4 so-called bad nutrients and then 2 good nutrients. And they're pulling out some of the most important information from the side label up to the front label. And it's a lot of numbers. It's hard to integrate into your mind. No indication really about high, medium, low, things that are really understandable to the average person who's not a nutritionist. So people have proposed a whole variety of other things that are being used. On the left is Hannaford Supermarkets, which are somewhere north of here, where a food will get either 0, 1, 2, or 3 stars, according to how good it is. And most people know that 3 stars is better than 2 stars. And the one up above is great for you. That's Walmart and American Heart Association. Either you meet their good criterion for good food, or you don't. So you can go to a supermarket and hopefully anything that has one of those symbols on it, you could feel pretty safe that it's reasonably healthful for you. And the criteria are okay, not fabulous. The one at the upper right is developed by some professor at Yale Medical School, where he has a system not 0 to 3, but 1 to 100. Everybody can figure out if food has a higher score, it's better for you. And so get a salad dressing with a score of 50 rather than 40. And the British government has been using what they call traffic light symbols, where where they use color coding, red, yellow, or green, or red, and for those 5 elements there, along with the percentage of your daily limit and the actual gram amount. And sometimes they use high, medium, or low. And some supermarkets are using that approach. The industry doesn't like it. And the industry will fight to its death to keep a red, bad for you symbol off the package. A simpler way to do this would be to have 1 dot, red, yellow, or green. Industry likes the green. So those are some of the things. And the FDA is considering doing something on front of package. And this can be done by regulation, probably better, maybe better than legislation, although a law could give the FDA a deadline. We first petitioned on this around 2005, I think, 2006. And one thing that you'll discover is that things take forever in Washington or in court. I mean, you can spend decades in court also, which is one reason we like to settle out of court. But you really have to be patient with these issues because they're complicated. Industry can put its foot down and pretty much stop anything it wants. So let me stop there, and hopefully there's time for you're the timekeeper. Did you say 15 more minutes? Okay. Yes,
and just really quickly, just because some new people walked in, I just want to remind everybody that can you please identify your name and your affiliation, use a mic, the button's right on the table, otherwise it won't be picked up by the video, and that this is being videotaped, so if you have a question you would prefer to ask in private and or not have show up on the internet, that would probably be advisable to do so in private. Thank you.
I'm Capstone. Let's talk about food. I have sort of a stupid question. Why is little CSPI so terrifying to all of these big food giants? What is your special sauce that you can get? Tell us how you got there.
We came from humble beginnings.
Michael, can you repeat the question, please? Just because her
yeah. Louisa was prefacing it by saying it's probably a dumb question. But as long as we have that on videotape. How did Little CSPI, a small nonprofit group, we have about 50 staff people now, get the power to have some influence? And I think it really has come from our scientific credibility. And we try to be right. And when I write something,